NASA is an open data agency, so it's written in our DNA when we were created in 1958. We were supposed to give our discoveries to the public. So we've always done that. I kind of look at it as the first round of value from our data comes from, we have a mission and the data comes out. Then we package the data and we put it out in the public. That's value number 2. Then the public engages with our data and creates something new that we hadn't thought of, and we bring it back in. That's value number 3. And then if we decide to build on top of that, NASA does something from that, that's value number 4. So you keep thinking of how you revalue that data. Then when you get back to the big data, the missions from Apollo and the generations that came before, that we've still got all that data, that we're now being able to unlock new things. We're in the process of how can the public engage with our data in a more simple way so that they can kind of unlock some discoveries for themselves, because our data is highly technical. And then for the inside of us, it's really having the different scientists use the data, that's formatted different ways, and how can we unlock these amazing questions that we didn't even think to ask because our data didn't talk to itself. The best experience that we have is the Space Apps Challenge. It's a hackathon for a weekend. It will be, the next Space Apps is the 22nd through the 24th. This last year, by the way, we had 133 cities in 62 countries. We had almost 14,000 individuals that came for their weekend with their own time to engage with NASA data. This amazing thing that people who would never touch NASA or touch space get to engage with their data, so that's kind of an amazing thing about it. What I learned about it is if you throw the seeds of open data out to the world, the harvest of innovations from our data is just unexpected. We throw out data seeds and we get robots and apps that look for traffic, and we can look at the environment and how the colors of leaves change because of pictures that people are snapping, and then they're crowdsourcing, and it's using our satellite data. So it's been amazing to me to see just the harvest of innovation. It's hard to think that a citizen might think of an idea that the scientist hadn't thought of, so that's a culture shift to be able to embrace it. So to bring it back to the NASA engineers and scientists, it's really the concept of, even though the code may not be code you want to use, because it was created on a weekend and that's okay, are there ideas and concepts that you now want to pursue because you hadn't thought of doing that? Is the idea behind it going to change the way you do business? And we are seeing a lot of traction from that, where the challenge owners are saying, we want more of this. I hadn't thought of these things. That's the big data issues that we have. It's like, how do we have the technology for data collection and processing and archiving that will match the amount of data we have and the number of questions people are asking that we hadn't thought of asking? But tools that are coming on in technology, that's going to help us with that. We're getting there with pushing the analytics and all the machine learning and all those things that we have now that are being able to find new things in our data. It's a great problem to have, that we have too much data and then we have too many questions, and that there are so many questions that haven't been asked yet. That's a great place to be, I think. So we believe in open data, and we want to make sure that open data isn't tied so closely to one administration that another administration might throw it away. So that we're going to be open data anyway. Again, it's in our DNA, it's written in our Space Act. So we're going to do this, but we really want this movement of open data to not be seen as a political thing, but to be really seen as the right thing to do. We want this process to be sustainable so that we can, let it live on and let the open data kind of let people come to it and discover new things that we in the government would never have even thought to ask. And that's the cool thing about open data. And we are a bureaucracy, and there are processes that drive me crazy, and I could pull my hair out. But despite all of that, we still do step out ahead of others, and even with social media, we were kind of the first to lead the way, and then other agencies, well, if NASA can do it, we can. So we always have other agencies coming to us and saying, how did you do that? And how did you get on the lawyers? And how did, what technology to use, what platforms? So I appreciate the fact that we do have the opportunity to lead. And I think our leadership also really appreciates that. And NASA is a trust brand. So it's this really wonderful opportunity for us that people trust when we say something, that we're not spinning the story. There's science behind it, and this is what we're doing. It's super easy to hide behind that wall of, we've never done it, we can't do it, someone might do something bad with it. Totally get that. It's just a matter of getting a little bit more comfortable with even if you put 0.5% of data out, see what happens with that, see that you're okay. Again, in social media world, this was the same issue we had, is people were afraid. So same thing with open data. It's like just finding a place, just the one place where you can experiment and giving your people a chance just to try some things out. We want to engage the citizens, planetary citizens, Earthlings, around NASA data more often. So we just redesigned and redeployed our open.nasa.gov website. And now we've got it as an engagement site so we can talk about the different things we're doing with data. We have a new program called NASA Datanauts. It's kind of a spin-off, as we call it, NASA from Space Apps. We're working on monthly challenges that we will give to the Datanauts so they don't have to wait for April. So they can do the monthly challenges that we will serve them, and then we'll also have some community engagement toolkits where they can gather around in their neighborhoods with their friends or family or colleagues to create some NASA data making nights, so that if you don't have a weekend to do a hackathon, you might have 2 hours to belly up to the data bar and to hang out with your buds and create something new. We also have a section in our opennasa.gov site that lets us tell the data stories. So if someone has used NASA data in an interesting way, not through a program, but they've just done a cool visualization, they can send it to us, they can put it on the website, and then we can tell their story. Mary created this cool visualization using NASA data. She was inspired by NASA to do blah, 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 blah. So that's in there. So I'm super excited about just this vehicle that we can begin to tell more stories, to show citizen work. And it's not about NASA's story, it's a story about how Earthlings have united around NASA's data and created these amazing things that we didn't think to do.